No, I feel like I don't ever have regrets,
That's good.
because I do feel like I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now without those experiences.
Yeah,
And I met so many like great people along the way. So I
yeah,
feel like there's always value.
yeah.
I guess it's not even regret. It's almost like I just wish I didn't listen to other people instead of my heart.
Mm,
Which I think that's what I kind of admire about you is, and I don't know your whole story either, but you seem to, at least from the snippets that I know,
mm-hmm.
like you've like stayed on your path and like got out of Philly. And
Yeah,
like my family's born and raised, like people don't leave. So even
yeah,
for me to go to California,
yeah.
huge. And I did it so much later.
Right. Well, I mean, all that matters is you do it, right?
Totally.
I mean, yeah, I guess. But the interesting thing is, technically, I didn't follow my heart when I was younger. I had a big conflict with my like I wanted to go to Berkeley College of Music in Boston.
Hmm.
And my mom and I, we have different memories about this time or whatever, but it was basically like, you ain't going to no Boston,
Yeah.
you know? And she may not see it this way, but I feel like she picked the university as close to her job as possible. Like, so she could keep an eye on me and everything. I don't know if she thought she was going to be able to do, but, and then she would call me sometimes. I saw you walking down the street. And she would say,
Yes, like keeping tabs on you.
"Yeah," but that's what she was doing. And then she was like, "And I saw you walking with this girl, and you had her walking on the outside of the curb, and
Oh
and
no.
I didn't raise you like that."
Yeah, yeah.
So she was like, "If I come through this campus again and I see you with some girl walking on the outside, it's gonna be trouble."
Oh snap.
So now I don't even do it here in Germany because maybe she's gonna pop up and be like, you
She's like,
know,
I see you.
yeah. So yeah, but so I didn't end up doing what I wanted to do. Like technically, I would have. I mean, I don't even know what my life would have been like if I didn't end up going to Drexel because I don't know if I would have ever discovered the rave scene. I don't know if I would have even gotten into house music because at the time I was making hip hop music and I
Mhm.
wanted to go to this school in Boston. So I mean, technically, I didn't, and I had my whole, what I thought was my life plan all laid out, and it just worked out in a little bit of a different way. But
Yeah.
eventually, it did come to a head, and like I resolved the conflict with my mother. Like I staged a little protest at university where I just stopped going to class or whatever, and then I changed my major to music and did
What
all
did
of
you
that.
what did you start out in?
Electrical engineering.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I have this. I don't even know why. I don't even think I picked this major.
Yeah, I think you're too young then. Like
Yeah,
I thought I was going to be married with kids by 25. Like
yeah,
thank God that didn't happen.
yeah,
But yeah, I think you're just easily like persuaded
yeah.
by people that I mean, my parents loved me and like had the best interest for me, but
Hmm.
what they wanted wasn't necessarily what was like going to fulfill my heart, you
Right,
know?
right, right. Yeah,
And it's kind of interesting to now have like the experience and the years and to kind of see my parents now as not parents and people that know all the right things.
yeah.
Like now just realizing they're just humans too and they have no idea what the fuck they're doing either. So
Right.
it's like, I don't know, it's kind of cool to be on this side
Yeah,
now
yeah.
and
They
you
do.
know.
I think parents do the best they can do. Like I mean, they work with the information that they have at their disposal, and it's interesting how time changes over the generations, and things that were important to them aren't
Mhm.
necessarily important to us, or we don't have the same struggles, or certain decisions aren't regarded the same way as they used to be. Like, of course, like my mom was married at, I think my mom got married at 21, 22.
You
You know?
imagine?
Yeah. And I'm like, what? And, I'm pushing 50 and I'm like, slow down. Whoa.
Like, I'm not ready.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
And just to like kind of understand their stories, like their parents, how they were raised and what stories are playing in their head. And
Yeah.
I mean, like my dad, just the way they deal with emotions too. Like I think I've seen my dad almost cry one time.
Uh, do you,
So, and it's just so different now.
yeah. What do you remember what the situation was? Or if you,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
is
It
it,
was well, when my parents got divorced, they ended up we switched schools and everything, like moved apart,
okay.
switched neighborhoods, and gave away the dog. That's
Mm,
so my dad was like so close with that dog, and so that talking about it years later,
yeah.
he like was kind of tearing up,
Yeah.
which just kind of broke my heart because I was like, I felt bad for men, I guess in general, and maybe it's just the way we're raised too, like being that waspy like type of family where you
Yeah.
just like shove everything down.
I
But
mean,
I like seeing that men are speaking up more and are able to like show emotion and
yeah.
got to go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I get on the verge of tears very easily, actually, but
Hmm.
not in real life situations. I can count the times. I could probably count the times I cried over real life situations, but
Really,
TV shows and commercials, I I can't
those
do
dog
it.
commercials, yeah, movie.
Yo, this show. I don't know if you remember the show Parenthood. Like, I don't know. It was on a couple of years ago, but I mean, I felt like I cried. I feel like this show was designed to make you cry at some point through the
Yeah.
episode, you know. And this show would always get me. I was always like, um, but like speaking of like fathers like crying, like I didn't have like the strongest relationship with my father. Like we were actually pretty estranged a large portion of my life, and there was actually times when like a year or two would go by and I wouldn't even see him in person. We only talked a couple like Christmas and
Hmm.
maybe he called me on my birthday and I called him on his birthday, and you know what I mean. And but we didn't start getting closer until I actually moved out of Philly. And and so over the time of getting to know him, uh, once because I moved to Montreal, and then when I would come back to Philadelphia, I would stay with him,
Hmm.
and then I actually ended up staying with him for about 7 months. Like I moved back to Philly like briefly for like 7 months, and it was interesting to see how similar I was to him just from some genetic standpoint. Um, because we had very similar personalities, but he still was very much in control. He didn't ever seem to raise his voice. I can't even imagine him raising his voice. And I can't imagine him crying. I can't imagine him being upset about anything. He just never showed this. And it wasn't until one time, like closer to like around the time that he died, he was talking about how he lost the house that he had bought for his mother. And this is the first time I ever saw any sign of
Mm.
emotion from him. Like, it was, and I was actually kind of shocked. I couldn't even speak. I didn't even,
Yeah, like you don't know how to react. How old
yeah.
was he when he passed?
So, now I'm gonna have it wrong. I think he would have. I think it was 79 when he died. Yeah, I think the year he died, If he had lived to see his birthday, he would have turned 80. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's, I mean, but I don't know. I don't know if men are meant to do this stuff, though. I think this is what we're supposed to do. We got to go off and cry when nobody's looking, you know?
Well, yeah, it's confusing these days.
Yeah?
I feel like even in dating and everything now, it's like nobody knows what to do or like what is the role, what is
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
what are we just used to.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
it's crazy.
but somebody's got to be the rock, though. Someone's got to be the
But why
person,
is
huh?
showing emotion like why is that
But
perceived as like not strong?
well, I don't know. I don't know if it's a strong thing though. I think it might be one of those things where you're um, like everyone in the family has to look at one person and say everything's going to be all right. And if he looks like things ain't going to be all right, it's not good for anybody. You know what I mean? And I think this is kind of the way that it goes. And I mean, not to say that a man has to be that person, but I think someone has to be that person.
Hmm.
If two people, if you crying and you're worried about like, oh, what are we going to do? And then you look at your significant partner or your parent and they're like, I don't know either. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's just a hot mess. Yeah.
So
I guess actually, I don't know. I guess it just depends because I feel like emotion, you can still be strong and
yeah,
still. I think it's like it's outlook.
yeah,
Like the older I get, the more I'm realizing like your mindset. That's what life is. It's like
yeah,
a mind fuckery.
yeah.
And like if you can control like the way you react and your outlook,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like you can have your moment of crying about something, but then what? You can't like stay in that space
Mm-hmm.
for too long.
Yeah, yeah,
But you
yeah,
have to kind of decide. You have to like decide to get out of that.
yeah. And I can tell you, like with my mom, when I would cry about something, she would say, "Okay, yeah, you can cry," and then she would like, "Okay, so and then what are we going to do? How are we
Yeah.
going to fix it?" You know?
Yeah.
And I think I just adapted to this role, and I just start like bypassing the crying part. And then I just like, okay, so how am I going to fix it? This is the situation. What am I going to do about it? So I think, I don't know. I think sometimes you just don't. I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily a man thing, but uh, I think it's just because I don't know. I mean, my mom doesn't. She cries sometimes, but like not really. You know what I mean? She's just like shit got to get done. We got to fix it.
There's no time for that.
Yeah, yeah. We can deal with that later. We can do all the crying later,
Yeah.
And
So
so,
I wonder, does she cry like in private?
um, yeah, I think she cries in private. Like, sometimes we have conversations and she'll get emotional about something or whatever. But it's more like memories. It's more like past things. But almost in a sense where I could see her crying about it now. But in the moment, I don't think she was crying about it at all. Like, I think she was just handling things. And then, now she looks back at it and I had to go through this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know. So, I don't
I
know.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you just kind of deal with what you have to right now.
Yeah.
And then later you're like, oh, I just went through a lot.
Yeah. See?
You know?
What's your dog's name?
Vita,
Vita.
life. She, she's full of it, clearly.
Yeah.
Little 13-pound, yeah, badass.
Yeah. She's like, I don't cry, I roar,
Totally. I know. I'm always like, life lessons from Vita,
Word.
little flower shop dog.
Yeah.